There are moments on America's Got Talent that feel different from the very first second a person walks out onto that stage. You can't always explain it. You can't always predict it. But the audience feels it, the judges feel it, and if you've been watching this show for years, you feel it too. Steve Ray Ladson was one of those moments. Not because of some dramatic backstory that made everyone cry before a single note was sung. Not because of some trick or spectacle designed to shock the crowd. Steve Ray Ladson was different because the moment he opened his mouth, something happened in that theater that nobody expected and nobody could prepare for. He walked out looking like a man who had been doing this his whole life, because he had been. Born and raised in Hopkins, South Carolina, Steve Ray Ladson didn't grow up in a music school or a fancy conservatory. He grew up on a farm, right next to the church his father leads. From the time he was a teenager, he was singing in gospel quartets. He was riding horses and working the land and absorbing every sound, every rhythm, every feeling that came from the South Carolina soil beneath his feet. He had no one single genre to call home because he had absorbed all of them. Gospel. Blues. Country. Bluegrass. R&B, hip-hop. Funk. He didn't just listen to music. He lived inside it. By the time Steve Ray Ladson walked onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2025, he had already spent 15 years pursuing music professionally. He had toured with the Blind Boys of Alabama, one of the most legendary gospel groups in American history. He had played with Robert Randolph and the Family Band and earned a Grammy nomination for his contributions to their contemporary blues album. He had played the lead role in a country music-themed Cirque du Soleil show called Songblazers. He could play 10 instruments. Banjo. Guitar. Electric bass. Piano. Hammond organ. Harmonica. Spoons. Accordion. Dobro. Drum kit. 10 instruments. And yet somehow, despite all of that, the world hadn't fully discovered him yet. Until AGT. His audition song was called Back of My Truck. It was completely original. His own words, his own melody, his own genre that he named Blackgrass Brothercana, a word he invented to describe the combination of bluegrass and country Americana fused with R&B, hip-hop, rock, and soul. When he performed it, the audience erupted. They didn't know what hit them. Howie Mandel immediately said it was 100% a hit song. Simon Cowell, a man who has heard more musical performances than perhaps anyone alive, sat back in his chair and said that moments like this are why he loves his job. Sofia Vergara's jaw dropped. The crowd gave a standing ovation. And all Steve had done was play his music and tell his truth. More than 2 million people watched that audition on YouTube. 2 million people heard Back of My Truck and decided they needed to share it with someone else. That number kept growing because the song had something in it that people don't get to experience very often anymore. It was real. It was original. It wasn't designed by a committee or engineered in a studio by 12 different producers. It came from a man who grew up tending horses on a farm next to his father's church in South Carolina, and it sounded exactly like that. Raw. Alive. Honest. When the quarterfinals came, nobody knew what Steve Ray Ladson was going to do. He had already won the crowd with Back of My Truck. Could he do it again? Would he try to recreate that energy, or would he take a risk and do something completely different? He chose the risk. He walked out with his band and launched into a new original song called Boots Like Mine. The moment the groove kicked in, the audience started moving. They couldn't help it. The song was funky and upbeat and built around a hook that nobody in that room was going to forget anytime soon. Ain't nobody got boots like mine. Square toe leather crocodile, top of the line. The crowd was dancing in their seats. His band was locked in tight behind him. The energy in that theater was something that television barely captures. Howie Mandel was on his feet. Mel B was on her feet. Simon Cowell, the man who once told a contestant their performance was the worst he had ever heard on live television, was on his feet giving a standing ovation. Everyone in that audience was standing. Everyone except Sofia Vergara, who stayed in her seat and said nothing. The crowd noticed. Terry Crews noticed. And then Sofia leaned into the microphone. "Steve," she said. "I mean, you are a superstar." And then she paused. "But to be honest," she said, "I didn't like this song." The audience gasped. You could hear the confusion ripple through the room. And then Sofia Vergara, who in that moment had the entire world holding its breath, looked straight at him and said 3 words that changed everything. "I loved it." And she slammed the golden buzzer with both hands. The confetti exploded from the ceiling. Golden paper rained down on Steve Ray Ladson and his band while the audience went completely insane. Steve looked up at the sky like he couldn't believe what was happening. He laughed. He yelled something into the microphone. He said he felt like James Brown. He said he was ready to go get down. And every single person watching understood exactly what that meant because they felt it too. Sofia explained afterward that she had wanted to make sure the whole crowd understood what was happening in that moment. She said that Steve wasn't just talented. He wasn't just a good singer. He was a superstar in the truest sense of the word, someone who commanded a stage, who made a room feel something, who made you want to dance before you even realized your body was already moving. She said that watching him was the kind of experience she had been waiting for all season. For Steve Ray Ladson, this moment was the result of 15 years of grinding. 15 years of playing shows, writing songs, touring the country, sitting in the back of vans, playing gospel in churches, riding horses on his family's farm in Hopkins, South Carolina, and believing that one day the rest of the world would hear what he heard in his own music. He didn't give up when the world wasn't listening. He kept building. He kept creating. He kept finding new ways to describe who he was and where he came from, even inventing a whole new genre just to do it. And now the world is listening. America's Got Talent gave Steve Ray Ladson a platform, but the truth is that Steve Ray Ladson gave America's Got Talent a moment it will not forget. The kind of moment that makes you remember why this show exists in the first place. Not to find the most polished performer or the most rehearsed act. But to find someone who walks out onto that stage and makes you feel something you weren't expecting to feel. Someone who plays music from a place inside them that no school taught them and no producer engineered. Someone who grew up on a farm next to a church in South Carolina and put everything they ever felt into a song about boots made of square-toe leather crocodile and made Sofia Vergara slam a golden buzzer and made 2 million people stop scrolling and press play and share it with the people they love. That is Steve Ray Ladson. And this is only the beginning.